Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, so shall I start?
Just a minute, sir. I'll introduce you and then I'll hand over the mic to you. And you can start.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Our last keynote speaker for the day is Professor Kamal Kishore Pant from IIT Delhi. Professor Pant is currently Petrotech Chair Professor and Head of the Department of Chemical Engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He is also adjunct faculty at University of Saskatchewan, honorary faculty at the University of Queensland, Australia, and joint faculty in Center of Rural Development at IIT Delhi. Professor Pant's research contributions involves a wide range of innovative studies covering both theoretical and experimental aspects of heterogeneous green catalysis of coal to chemicals, biomass, and fossil hydrocarbon conversion to hydrogen and fuels, carbon dioxide capture and conversion, waste to wealth, and value-added chemicals. Professor Pant is a part of research consortium which is developing a technology for conservation of high ash coal to methanol in collaboration with Thermax. Professor Pant has over 30 years of academic and research experience, during which he has published over 175 journal articles, having more than 9,500 citations with H index of 50, 3 books and have been granted several national and international patents. Professor Pant has successfully completed over 50 high impact projects and consultancies valued more than 1.5 billion Indian rupees from India's and world's topmost premier companies and organizations such as GAIL, HPCL, DRDO, Tata Chemicals, Novod, MHRD, CSIR, IARI, Ministry of Defense, SERB, Ministry of Fertilizers, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and Petrotech Society of India. Owing to his outstanding contributions to academia and research, Professor Pant is frequently invited as an expert member in several national as well as international scientific committees such as SERB, DST, CPCB, Ministry of Electronics, Ministry of New Delhi and Renewable Energy, and many more. I request Professor Pant sir to take on the session from here onwards.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. And I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Sir.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, the organizer, Dr. Manish, for providing me the opportunity to deliver a talk. The theme of this talk is mainly related to plastic waste and electronic waste management, as you can see here. So this is the approach which is related to a kind of concept which is nowadays very common, the waste to wealth. So actually, waste we are calling, but generally if you make it an opportunity, then it will always be right. Nothing is called as a waste. So I'll give you some glimpse, right, in total, right, what is being done globally, what is being done in India, and what should be done, right, in total, right, when you look at the opportunities from this electronic waste, plastic waste, those kind of things. So when you talk about these things, right, so you have to understand what is the meaning of this sustainable development goal, right? So this is very important. Everybody talks about, many big things and the kind of the word, right, which are talked nowadays, right, that many things are to be done in order to develop the process sustainable, right, and which is related to sustainable environment, sustainable energy, right, and of course the economic growth of the country, right. So having said this, right, the United Nations, they adopted, right, this kind of agenda. Then also in India also, right, these agendas are adopted, and the purpose is that, right, when you talk about these sustainable development goals, so it involves everything, right? But when you talk about a kind of, right, the plastic waste, electronic waste, battery waste, right, so many things are waste. and if you make an opportunity, the purpose is that you should to work for the good health and well-being, right? That's very important. That clean water, right? When you talk about clean environment, right? Sustainable cities and communities. So that's what the concept of what you call the cities, right? Which are nowadays full of these kind of pollutants and should be made clean, right? So you call them developed cities, right? Or the smart cities concept. So that's what which is coming nowadays, right? Of course, the water, right? Clean water. So availability of water for everyone is the motto, right? And lot of work is being done in this direction, right? Providing house to everyone is also very important. So that's a part of sustainable cities and community. Then when you talk about these things, right, simultaneously you have to look at the economy analysis, right? Because the technology which you develop or technology which are being developed, right, but at the end it has to be energy extensive, right? If the process input energy is more, right, output is limited, then there is nothing. That is the cost. When you calculate how much profit, how much time will it take, right, to make towards profit, those things are important. And one has to look at this, that is the economic growth of the country, right? So economic growth of the society, right, and economic growth of the people who are living nearby, right? And with the kind of clean technology, sustainable technology, at the same time, how this is progressing, right? Like this, so that's important. You see the right life under the sea, right? A lot of issues are coming nowadays because of the plastic waste, right? And that is also important that you should take care not only the human being, right, but also the animals or all the living, right, species who are on the earth, right, on the ground or on the inside, right, whatever see the below, right, ocean or right. So all those things are important. And when you do this, so this is what you see, right? The sixth one is the responsible production and consumption. So this covers everything in fact. So responsible production, right? The industries have to make a database, right? How much products are coming out, and then these are being transferred to the consumer, so consumption. And then when these cycles, right, the consumption and then there should be a kind of linkage between the two. So that is production and consumption. This should be interlinked. And then your waste production, that is the challenge which you are addressing now, or talks where there are so many things are being done. That should be a kind of what you call a kind of what you call a circular economy concept. So it means whatever being produced, the same is sent back and then again recycle it again and again and refuse to take. Right? That's a very important concept. If that material which generates the waste, you should refuse it to take. Right? So it should be recycled again and again. And otherwise, you don't do, you see the consequences. So everywhere, all over India, right? Not only all over India, but I'm saying globally, right? You will see these kind of the dump yards, what you call, right? For electronic waste, for plastic waste, for municipal solid waste in total, right? And that is a kind of the landfills, right? So in future, this should not come, right, as a landfill. So it means this can happen when there is a proper inventory, when there is a database, and then one can understand, right, this. So when you talk about e-waste, I'm just talking e-waste and plastic waste, so I'm focusing more on that. So when you talk about e-waste, right, we call it basically WEEE, very important and catchy words nowadays, right? So electrical and electronic equipment, right, that have been discarded by the owner, right? Owner means consumer, without any intention of reuse. This is what I'm saying and I'm stressing. This is the term that is without any intention of reuse is not acceptable now, right? So that's what it means. This should be reused again and again, and then you can have the opportunity. But whatever has been done in the past, how to utilize that, right? That is our objective, that find out some technology so that these landfills can be we should get rid of all the kind of waste which can be disposable in what way, right? And no new landfills should come in near future. And that's why this kind of workshops are everywhere. The workshops, faculty development programs, and these things are being organized. You see, again, the plastic waste, and as the waste, the plastic waste, and the kind of news issue you must have read several times, right? So in India also, 27 kg, this plastic bag were found from the stomach of a dead whale. And similarly in Philippines also, right, 40 kg of the plastic bags in its system. Because this plastic is a single-use plastic, SUP, and should be totally banned, right? So means this is a kind of issue. And when you talk about the microplastic, right, which is less than, right, 5 millimeter size, because these are non-biodegradable. This is nothing like a kind of agro residue which you see, which can be biodegradable, but this is not a biodegradable. This will remain there, right? Only thing what happened, because of wear and tear, they can be broken into the smaller pieces, the smaller pieces. So you must have, right, heard about the issues related to microplastic, because, right, this can be 40 micron, 50 micron size also, and these are generally coming to the salt also, because the salt which you take, right, as an intake, right, for the food. So because these are being, right, on the ground, it is there. Over the year, these are converted to small pieces. And finally, when you have a kind of, right, the RO units, distillation unit for generating or producing the salt, right, so this will come there. And this is a kind of the carcinoid problem, right? And if this is the number, you see the liter, marine liter, which is around 150 million metric ton. 150 million metric ton of plastic, right? And around 5 trillion microplastic. This is present in the ocean. And if this number is not controlled, if the single-use plastics are not banned, this may go 3 times. That is a big threat. So every year, if you see, around 13 million metric ton of plastic waste are added to ocean. Where does it go, right? Either the, right, fish takes it, right? They will take, fish take it, and or this is remain, right, in there, and then through the, right, processing, it will come to the salt. Similarly, electronic waste also, right? So large amount of electronic waste is present, and this electronic waste, right, if you see the consequences of electronic waste, because this is the unregulated accumulation or landfilling, right? Metal leaching, right? You must have heard the, right, water, groundwater sources, right? You must have seen about the river water, right? These are being contaminated. And there are multiple, right, man-made, right, issues which are, right, created issues, right? And this goes to the soil, this goes to the water, and finally it comes to the food material, right? Then you eat this, right, or you swallow it, and this is a kind of the, right, direct versus indirect exposure. And once this happens, this can cause lung cancer, damage to heart, liver, brain, kidneys, right? Skin cancer, hormonal disorder. So anything, whatever you see, these kind of metals which are present here. Antimony, arsenic, barium, beryllium, brominated flame retardants, cadmium, then chlorofluorocarbons, lead, nickel, polychlorinated biphenyls, polyvinyl chloride. So everything is there. And these consequences are there, these are present even in ppm level. Well, these are the heavy metals, right? These are the kind of the metals which are carcinogenic if you take it continuously beyond a certain limit. So WHO has defined the guidelines, right? How much it should be present in water, right? How much it should be present in your food material. So those things are very important. So data are, right, really, right, threatening. You see 75, right, million tons of electronic waste is predicted by 2030. This is waste I'm talking. Right? This is the number of e-waste, and see the growth. It is more or less a kind of exponential growth. Right? And you see that the country-wise, right, or zone-wise, this is the, right, number, right, in terms of the e-waste which is produced in terms of million metric ton. And you see Asia, 25 million metric ton. Whatever the 74 is predicted, right, that's the number. Right. So these are the couple of things, right? When you talk about the percentage share or amount of electronic waste in tons, right? So this is a challenge, right, everywhere. And how much is recycled, you see, right? Why? So very low number is being recycled, right, that collected for recycling, because there is nothing like a formal sector. So this is a big challenge, that the total number of electronic waste which is being produced, out of that, how much is being recycled, these are the things. So this is what written here. The global consumption of electronic waste, right, which just like when you talk about these numbers, right, the electronic waste which is coming here, right? So excluding the photovoltaic panel, so solar panel is even a different number, right? And this increased annually by 2.5 million metric tons. And in 2019, if you see the data, right, 54 million metric ton of the electronic waste, which is an average of 7.3 kg per capita. This is the world data, right? And 17.4% of electronic waste produced is being recycled. So this, see that how small is this number. So only 17%, and that is where the people are talking a kind of many of that is just because of the informal sector. This is the India, right? So Indian scenario is also not very good, right? So India is now, if you look at presently the in terms of e-waste producer, it is the fourth largest, right? Reaching to a number 3, right? So alone Mumbai, if you see, right, around it generates around 1,20,000 tons of the electronic waste. And Delhi and Bangalore, these are ranked second and third with 98,000 and 92,000. So all these, because see, the utilization of this kind of electronic materials, right? More and more the developed countries, right? They consumption or utilization of these kind of electronic items are more and more, because every 6 months you are changing your mobiles, right? You are changing your TV after 3 years to 5 years. You are changing your laptops, right? Then all these, what you see, the lights, right? CFL lamps, right? These are under the category of electronic waste. Correct. So that is where the threat, right? You see that the number of, right, the states, right, the electronic waste which is being generated. So most of these, you should talk about whatever the 17% I'm talking recycled, and 90% of this, whatever the recycled, right, is through unorganized sector in an unregulated way. So that part I will discuss later separately, right? Even in Delhi, also if you see Silampur area, right, there are a lot of, say, child laborers are there who just collect the electronic waste, dismantle the metal part, and then take it, right, transfer it to the some kind of so-called small scale industry, right? And then they just use some acids, extract some metals, but this is totally informal. So I told you the electronic items, right? What you see WEEE. So all those television monitors, right? All the notebooks, tablets, right? Which are shown here, something like this, right? Then all the refrigerators, freezers, air conditioner, heat lamps, another category. Then I told you fluorescent lamps, high intensity discharge lamps, LED lamps, another category. Large equipments, right? So sometimes you must have a hard disk of your computer which contains a lot of, right, niobium type materials. So large equipments, that is also, right, like your washing machine. Then you have a clothes dryer, large printing machine, photovoltaic. So these are generally at commercial levels also, because washing machines are, right, in all laundries, you will see the large washing machine. Right? And then of course the mobile phones, pocket calculators, router, personal computer, so that is it. Then finally this, right, a kind of small equipment like vacuum cleaner, microwave, electric kettles, electric savers, radio sets. All these are covered at the, or called as a electronic material or e-waste when you dispose it. Now see, the threat here is that because the life cycle assessment, if you see, life cycle assessment is something like that. When you talk about the production, right, when it has been marketed, suppose you are talking about a refrigerator. So when it has come to the market, right, from the, right, industry. So that is its birth of that electronic item. And now it has been purchased by one of the, right, say, consumer. And maybe that after 3 years, he wants to buy a new one. What is the fate of this one, right? One option could be, it can be given to another person, right? That is from one consumer to another consumer. This is a kind of recycle, right? Then another consumer, likewise. And finally, when this feels that this cannot be of use further by a consumer, it should go back to the industry, same industry. They should take it. And this is what now, if you look at your Ministry of Electronics and IT, lot of database are being prepared. The purpose is that the producer should be responsible, the industry should be responsible. They should maintain your database every year. How many electronic items are they, right, manufacturing and so selling it out, and then to whom it has been sold out. Second point. And when this person has refused it to right after that, where does it transfer? So it is the responsibility of every, right, the entrepreneur or businessman, right, producer, manufacturer, and also the responsibility of the consumer. Then only these kind of problems can be solved. Otherwise, you will see the dump yards, right? And then this will be. So if you see that the kind of data, right, different kinds of electronic waste which are right generated and their consumption, right, it's a huge amount. All type of electronic waste are being produced. And you must have read these things, right? Every day in the newspaper, right? When you have you talk about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, you are increasing to generation, but and when you say that 4G has right abolished, 5G has come, everybody rushes to that, right? Whatever the cost, because economically, right, there are a large number of people who can afford it, right? But that is not the only right thought. The important point is that you are affording one thing, you are disposing in right the old item, but what is the fate of that also should be right in your mind as a responsible citizen. You have to give a thought on that, so that this should not go into a landfill, which is just shown here. And millions of these devices are going into right this without recycling. And opportunities are also there, because you see, if you can do a good job with that, right, whatever the waste has been generated, there is an opportunity. 1 billion, right, if you see the revenue in terms of the $1 billion. And this is what the Japanese have done in their right recent Olympic, right? They have used all the utilized, right, used electronic items, which was donated, right, by they're all, right, every citizen of that Japan, right? And out of that, they could extract, right, total 5,000 medals were prepared, and 27 kg gold was extracted from that. So gold medals were given. Similarly, silver and bronze medals were prepared only from these kind of electronic items. That is an opportunity, right? And that is a kind of thought which is required, right? Rather throwing it away, it's a device should be made, how these can be collected efficiently, right? And it can be used, then it can be a wealth, right? So that's important, that e-waste is a problem, but it can be, right, need to be right addressed, but how this can be an opportunity. So these are to be interlinked. Wealth, and then provide the opportunity, employment, startup activities, and that is now a new burning, right, issue, that how the e-waste can be utilized effectively and it can be a source of revenue. Yeah, another problem which will come maybe next 5 years onwards, right? Because a lot of e-vehicles will come in market, right? Lot of batteries, like you use the computers, you use the right laptop, mobiles, right? And everywhere you are using a battery. The battery life is limited, 3 years to 5 years, right? And then your domestic levels also, you use several 2A, 3A type battery. Their life is even less, right? 6 months. Have you ever given a thought that what is happening to that battery? You just put it in a trash bin, right? Same trash bin where you put the other waste, and then you just throw it away. And sometimes it caught fire also, because they have the residual charge in it, right? And because of that, spark may come, and that may cause the fires, that may cause the explosions, right? So these are the threats. So you see the rechargeable batteries, right, which can be a kind of consumer electronics, electric vehicles, energy storage devices, lithium battery, and market size is very important, right? So market size of lithium battery, this dotted line which is shown here, this is showing the market line, and 2025 scenario is this something here, right? This is this side is the lithium, which is mentioned lithium ion battery market size in terms of $1 billion. So around $95 billion, 95 to 100. This is the market size of lithium ion battery because of demand of the electric vehicles, right? Some of the electric vehicles are already available, right? You must have seen those, right? E-rickshaw, right? So this is where the challenge. And because of this gigawatt hour demand, right, the demand of lithium is increasing. And then people are looking alternate also to this, like sodium based battery, right, potassium based battery, because these are on the same group. So electric vehicles are widely being planned to use by the automobile sectors, right? Electric vehicles, telecom sector, energy storage, global battery market. If you see, it's reached to a value of $100 billion. This is what the predicted by 2025, with an annual growth rate of 10%. When you have this kind of, say, lead-based battery for your domestic, when you see the UPS and all these things, right? And emission content, right? When you see the lead content battery, this is the kind of emission which you see here in the graph, right? So increasing, this number is increasing with just the 2013 data, right? And this is where these lead-based batteries are nowadays banned because it contaminates the groundwater. It creates a lot of issues. So you see that this number which has been mentioned here, 140 million, right? Number of electric vehicles, right, predicted on the road by 2030. This is already the government of India has made a vision that most of these diesel-based vehicles will be phased out. Right? And there may be either the clean fuel like ethanol, right, dimethyl ether, hydrogen, or these kind of electronic vehicles. And this is contained at 30-40% of lithium battery weight, and this is used as a cathode battery. Right. So battery market is increasing because of the e-vehicles. But now the question is that how to use it and dispose it, because the life will be 3 years to 5 years, and you need to find out the solution. This point I have already discussed, because I will say this repeatedly and repeatedly, that all these metals in the electronic waste, when you talk, these are carcinogenic. They create the health hazards, so should be avoided. Similarly, another threat is plastic waste. Right? You see that, right? Single-use plastic or multi-use plastic. So all the concept of now 3R, right? Earlier we talked about 3 Rs, then 4 Rs, right? And now people talk about 8 Rs. That is a concept, right, where you are talking only refuse it, not to take the plastic, right? You go to the market, right? You go without, right, the bag with you, and then you ask the hawker vendors, right, to give you in a polythene bag, plastic bag. You just use the material inside the plastic bag after returning, right? And you throw without any thought, you put it in your dustbin, or just you put it in the drains, choking the drains, right? So that is undesirable. Because the issue is, what I'm talking, this issue is something where you talk about how to minimize this kind of waste. It should not come in the India, right? Or anywhere. It should not go into the landfill. So this is where you have to understand that how these can be removed and reused again and again. If you can recycle it back, right? This is really a good set, right? That's what very important. So if you see the data, India consumes around 16.5 million tons of the plastic waste per annum. Huge number. Okay. And 9.5, right? If you look at the data annually, 9.5 million tons of plastic waste is being, right, wasted or sent it to the dump. 16.5 million ton is produced, 9.5. So you can assume now, right, what I was talking about, 3R, refuse, reduce, recycle. These are the 3R. Resources, right, not being followed. So there are the concept of recycling, right? The 4 Rs to 8 Rs which have gone, right? Reduce it, to what extent you can reduce, recycle it, right? Reuse it, refuse it, right? So again and again, you have to go, right? And then look at the technology. 80% of the plastic, right, which is generally used is discarded. And 50% of the plastic we use is just single-use plastic. So this is a dangerous. Single-use plastic means you are using it and throwing out, right? Thin microns, whatever the, right? Sometimes you use the bottles and throw it in the dump, right? Sometimes you take the different kind of material, but you don't use it effectively. So those things are important, right? So one needs to find out how these plastic waste can be effectively utilized, right? You see the pictures here, right? The plastic waste which is threat to the environment, right? So just like the electronic waste, the plastic waste is another threat to the society, right? And you see the waste plastic, you see the, right, a kind of the, see the here, see, right, this is being taken by the animals, right? And you see the life in the aquatic here, and you see the landfills in it, or near ocean, right? Coastal area, landfills, and you see the fire is getting caught. So everything, right? When you see the unregulated accumulation of plastic, right? This causes the harmful effect. So when you burn this like this creates the dioxin, right? Lot of the environmental pollution, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrocarbons, right? All these will go to the environment. And this is also causing the global warming. Right? So CO2 concentration in the environment is increasing, all of you know. Now the CO2 concentration has reached to a level of 412 ppm. You want 40 ppm, 60 ppm, and reach to a level of 400 ppm. And this caused the global warming. So those things are issues, and this is a threat to the environment, threat to the society, threat to the climatic changes which are happening, right? And environmentally, it is in total affecting the human life or animals or whatever the what you call the living animals. So these things are very seriously to be taken and avoided. So this is the picture which I shown you in terms of data earlier, that this is the developed countries, right? When the you say that we are developed, then your consumption of plastic also increase, right? Because many things are required, right? But this is not the example of that. You have to find out the these are not the things that you develop and you use more and more plastic. Right? So there things are that you use, right? The lot of refineries, when you see, right? Petrochemical industry. So consumption of this carbon-based material, right? So these all are interlinked now, because when you are using a plastic, this plastic is coming a petrochemical product, right? So it can be your LDPE, low density polyethylene, it can be your high density polyethylene, it can be your PP, polypropylene, it can be PVC, it can be SBR, and so on, so on. How are you making this? By using some hydrocarbon. Where from hydrocarbon is coming? From crude oil. So when you see the it's a cradle to grave concept. So it gives you a lot of carbon dioxide into the environment. And that's why people talk biodegradable plastic, green plastic. That is later to be met. But when you see the overall consumption, the plastic consumption should be kept at its minimum, right? That is what the number you are showing here. It's said, right? Of course, the development of the country needs this, but development does not mean that you pollute the environment. Right? New technologies should come up, right? Efficient process should be developed, low energy consumption should be there, high output should be there, and definitely this will come to the lower levels. That's what I said, single-use plastic, is banned, should be banned. Right? So these things are very important when you look at the overall process in terms of development. So if you look at the plastic waste, I told you that you must have seen the green levels, right? How many times these are recycled, and this is what should be done. Because once the plastic material is being discarded, it should be transferred back. So you see that, right? Water bottles, common trace, this is PET1, right? All these are, water bottles are polyethylene, terephthalate. Then soft drink bottles, right? Cleanup bottles, all these are HDPE. Then pipes, fittings are made of PVC, polyvinyl chloride. Then your carrier bags, garbage bins, right? So these are kind of what I was talking, the less than 50 micron plastic should be banned totally, right? So this should be avoided. This can be avoided. You use the jute bags, you use some other bag, or recycle whatever, right? Again and again. Right? Then medicine bottles, food containers, right? PP. Then packaging pellets, fast food trays, polystyrene type. Right? So these are the kind of materials, and the same thing here shown in terms of percentage consumption. So your polypropylene and LDPE are very widely used here, right? And these are the plastics like polyvinyl chloride, polylactic acids, right? These are the your soles and all this, right? So these are generally used. So major fraction of this plastic waste right, is polypropylene and polyethylene, PP, LDP, HDP, which is around 66%. And single-use plastic category has potential to be converted into value-added energy source. But I am saying that this should be banned. Right? So these are a kind of that most of the time throwaway material. You use it and discard it. So either you recycle your plastic, carry the bottle, no problem, right? Plastic bottle, but use it again and again. Why every day you are taking a new bottle? This is what the concept. Otherwise, use the metallic bottles, which can be continuously reused. So that is very important in order to maintain, right, a clean India concept, or right, make the India clean. Another thing is the electronic waste, battery waste, which I'm talking, right? You need to understand the potential of the electronic waste and battery waste, right? Because you can use it efficiently. If you do that, then your overall efficiency of the process, right? When you see that how efficiently these can be maintained, right? Statistics, what you see here. So global scenario and national scenario. So quantify the magnitude of waste is a challenge. That is, of course, a problem. Then, sir, you need to look at, right? In order to make this, how much waste is generated, how much it promoted, right? You see the global concept here. Reduce the battery waste generation. Promote recycling. Prevent dumping and emissions as improper treatment of waste. Create green jobs, right, in recycling centers. And same thing should be adopted, right? So, but how can you do that, right? In the nation, when you can quantify, right, this is a big challenge, in fact. Collection, segregation, quantification. So you need to make, right, some kind of priorities. So establish the priorities for policymakers influencing the regulation. Set appropriate collections and recycling targets, and allocate adequate financial resources. So if these can be done, this is similar what is being expected, like nation-wide or globally. So there are a lot of issues here, right? So otherwise these landfills would not have come, right? So when you see that e-waste management or even plastic waste management, a proper collection system is required. This is a big challenge in maintaining this kind of, right, the waste management. So waste management is a challenge, big challenge, in fact, because the collection of the waste is very important. How this waste can be collected, right? Segregated in different kind of waste, and how can it be used effectively, right? So that is very important. So what you see here, this is a very big challenge and question mark, and lot of things are to be done. There is also a problem in terms of what you see. The guidelines are there, but not being followed, right? I'm not saying the guidelines are not there. Guidelines are there. CPCB has mandatory, right? Made some mandates, right? The local statutory bodies have the right. They have some guidelines. Informal recycling is a big challenge, right? Which is unhealthy environment for the workers. So health, we are keeping the right health of the say what you call the employees, right, who are working right in there, right, and kind of right employment they are doing on that they are working, right. It's a big challenge. And the most of the right, partly it is here, partly it's incineration. You will find a lot of right a kind of problems near the incinerator sites. Poor infrastructure for recycling. Lack of awareness and financial incentives. You train the society that if you do this thing, right, collect and segregate, you can generate the revenue. Just buy the plastic material. If you collect and segregate, clean it properly, it can be sold at a rate of 12 rupees per kg. Because a lot of people are making right the wealth from this. Collection and segregation, 12 rupees per kg plastic. Right? But this is not being done effectively, right? Because right there is not a proper infrastructure. The awareness is there, right? If you see right at your block levels, right, the domestic level, you have the different kind of dustbins, right? Dustbin. In one you put the dry waste, and then you put the kitchen waste, wet waste, and then some garbage right person comes, and then you give it to right into different segregates. This should be done. Plastic waste should be collected separately. Electronic waste should be collected separately, right? And then it should be given to some kind of right what you call the NGOs or society at block levels, right, who can collect it and give you some kind of incentive for that. Then this can be solved. But presently you see here, so I'm just coming back to the electronic waste, right? So let me put it on the downside, I hope. So this is what I'm talking here, a challenge. See, kachra binna wala, what you call, right? Kachra and binne wala you call. There are, right, lot of these kind of rack pickers, right? This is totally an informal thing. No, there is no record for them to manage this kind of inventory of the waste. Then inse upar jo hai what you call thai wala and kabadi wala, slightly bigger, right? So what they do, these kachra binne wala, these are just a small rack pickers. You must have seen their railway station surroundings, right? They have a bag at their back. They put it, they go take it to some market, right? Kabadi market, whatever you say, right? And then these two are this, what you see here, kabadi shop. They give just a minimal, right? So 5 paisa, 10 paisa, 50 paisa, depending upon the kilos, right? And so this is a kind of collection which is being done, right? And this will transfer it to bigger kabadi. So it takes right from here with certain revenue, and then at a higher cost, it just transfer it here. What these are doing, they have some kind of workers there, right? These workers, they identify, suppose you have given the mobile phones, so they will look at whether this mobile phone can be refurbished, can it be reused, right? And then they will make two different categories. And the purpose, right, the material which cannot be reused, they will take out, use the pliers, and they take out the metal part from there, put it on other side, put the plastic side on the other part, and then they transfer it to a kind of traders or dealers, wholesalers, right? And then they are as a partly refurbishment. The mobile phone which can be repaired, they repair it, right, and then sell it to the market, say at 1,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees, whatever, depending on the material, right? So they do this thing, and this thing they recycle. Where, right? Because sometimes what they do, they export it, right? Because it has a lot of revenue. So other, right, there are a couple of things which are being exported. They take, and because the countries have the technology, some of the countries, and then they generate the revenue from that. Here it is just like a cover. So dismantling and recyclers, collection and this. There is no linkage in between the two, right? So this is what the scenario, and we call it informal sector. This is to be avoided. So it means there is a need to channel the electronic waste and flow to informal sector. This is a kind of the opportunity, because I told you more than 50% of the electronic waste, right, is just to the informal sector, like scrap dealers, kabadi wala, and 26% inflow from the formal sector, like manufacturing industry, showrooms, formal. So that is a kind of, right, some kind of the formal, right, transfer. But if you look at the formal sector channeling of e-waste, their infrastructure facility is very low. They don't have any collection centers. No stringent implication of extended producer responsibility, what you call EPR, which should be done, right? Because now norms are being made, so they have to follow these. And you see here, right, the kind of channeling of e-waste sectors, right? The formal dealers, these are formal dealers, which you see here. Only, right? This is the kind of formal dealer. These are scrap dealers, this one, 38%. Then bulk consumer, right? This is a bulk consumer here. So this is what you see, the linkage between the formal and informal sector. So I have to move it up, right? Then kabadi wala is 12%, right? So channeling of e-waste in flow to informal sector is mainly 38%, right? What you call by the producer, right? By the scrap dealers, right? And the small percentage are, right, like 4% is the formal dealer, which is shown here. So this is what you see here, this side. This one, right? So that is where you need to understand and how to make this entire process integrated. So just by making database, just by adding the data, what I'm saying, database means a kind of, right, overall inventory can be made, and what one can do it at a, say, what you say, a block levels, then larger, right, what you say district levels, right, and how much is the quantity, accordingly it can be decided. Otherwise it can be taken at the state level, and so on, so right. So those things are very important to execute the things right in future. So informal, what I'm saying, recycling of the electronic waste, right? You see here that only 10% of the electronic waste generated is recycled, right, through the formal sector, and 90% is being recycled through the informal sector. This is to be reversed. So 90% should be formal, right, and only 10% or even this should not be there. So that should not be happening, right? So when you, how can you do that? So e-waste you have. So I will add here plastic waste also. E-waste plus plastic waste can be done, but e-waste also has the plastic component. Remember, right? Like your desktop plastic, but that is a different kind of plastic. So need to treat depending upon the type of waste. Collection, then manual crushing and segregation. People do it open burning. This should not be done. People use this aquaregia, should not be done. Concentrated sulfuric acid and nitric acid. You know that it will dissolve the part of the acids, right? And that was the kind of right adulteration also earlier things, right? When you go, you take your ornament to a right goldsmith, what he does, right? He will take it, he will say, I will get it clean. He will dip it in the aquaregia, and when he take it out after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you will see that your right ornament is getting well polished, and you right feel that. But partly of the gold has gone into the solution, right? And finally, they extract from there. Right? This is the most common method of metal extraction from the electronic waste. And remember, the same thing in the catalyst, right? Billions of the catalyst is coming as a waste, which contains platinum, palladium, rhodium, all these things, right? Precious metals. And there are a couple of companies in Japan. So in Gurgaon also, I know a couple of the industries, right? They collect this, they purchase this spent catalyst, and after just slight constant characterization, the Japanese take it, and then they extract these metals from there. And here, right, we are losing our revenue, right? So this is what happening in the informal sector: open burning, aquaregia, right, digestion, and then whatever metal comes out, they take it, and rest is thrown to the land. So this is the entire process which is to be discarded, right? Because all these steps can be responsible for environment pollution. Crushing of electronic waste generates the metal dust. This is also a big challenge in fact. Open burning, it produces the hazardous gases like dioxin and furans. Digestion of metals generates the corrosive and toxic. All these, what I said, informal, and that is should be banned. This is what, right, the kind of the linkage, which is linkage I am saying so far, right? But now a lot of modification, a lot of new changes have come, right? So this is what we see. Most of the things are informal. Whatever the industry, small scale, medium scale, right? So these are at the informal levels. You see source, trading, processing, and destination. So I'm talking a cradle to grave concept for electronic waste. So this is everything how the electronic waste is being produced in the India and being right utilized. So you see that right waste from outside country. This is also coming here. Scrap, lot of near in. If you see the Ghaziabad area, a lot of scrap comes. This should be banned. Right. Consumers, right? Bulk consumers and producers. This is the source of electron. And formal dealers, very small in number. So formal dealers means so-called formal dealers. So these are the scrap dealers of e-waste management. Kabadi shops, which I shown you, Kabadi walas. This is one informal sector. Then partly refurbished or repair, which can be done, a small percentage of that, partly dismantled, right? And this is again informal. Recyclers, metals and plastic recycling recovery, they have the batch units. And again, finally, it goes to destination formal dealers, consumers, scrap dealers, industry, and formal WEEE processing units. Right? So this is what's happening for the e-waste processing in India, and this should be well channelized and documented. You see the way, right, informal sectors. This is a kind of electronic waste here. printed circuit board rich in copper, right? And this is dismantled PCB. And they put it in aqua regia. So finally, see the copper has come out, right? This thing. See the way this is powder, this is being shredded. Lot of dust, metal dust comes here, right? Washing, sieving of copper. So copper is coming here, and then this is what here, dried copper. But see the health hazard, right? You see here how they are handling here the things. This is the informal open acid leaching. This is concentrated acid here, right? So this should be stopped and handled properly. So this is another picture, right? This is the fire, right? Most of the time you must have heard the news, right? In landfills, the fire gets caught because of the battery, because of the chargeable material there, right? And this is what the people are working here, right? So this is the kind of working environment, right? So now let us look at the opportunity, right? The one thing is that the challenge or threat which has come because of the electronic waste. And now if you look at this in a positive side, this will become an opportunity also, right? So major hazardous and valuable materials, you can call it hazardous materials or valuable materials. So printed circuit boards, like your hard disk, right? When you talk about, I'm saying PCB, this is the desktop, right? You have the motherboards of those, right? LCD, integrated circuit, capacitors, cathode ray tubes, wires, nickel cadmium battery, lithium battery, tonal cartridge, everything. If you don't do right proper treatment, becomes a hazard. So heavy metals, dominated flame retardant, liquid crystals, packaging reagents, electrolyte, lead oxide, polychlorinated biphenyls, cadmium, lithium compounds, right? Different kind of phosphorus, fluorine compounds, toner, right? Which is a kind of aluminum plastic. And if you do the opportunity here, this can be the positive side, right? You have copper, silver, gold, glass fibers, right? Similarly, so what I'm saying, all these kind of precious metals, they have these kind of metals available. And that is where the opportunity came, and Japanese, right, cast it. So copper, right, they got the bronze medal, right? Copper and zinc mixture. They got the gold medal from that, right? What you see, right? 27 kg gold they could extract from there, right? And silver also, more than 5,000 kg of the silver they could extract, right? Then copper and zinc used as bronze. So that is what I'm saying, the opportunity in the electronic waste. So I'm just skipping because these are the kind of plastic materials which is present in the electronic waste this side, right? These are all kind of the right complex plastic materials, right? And in the electronic waste compared to LDP, HDP, these are polyethylene, polypropylene, so easy to crack. But here the materials, right? These are generally used as a fire or flame retardant materials. And these are kind of, right, a different kind of plastic which cannot be cracked easily, or like this P, this is easy to crack. All these are easy, right? Here also you have some issues like chlorine is there, right? It is not easy to crack. But what I'm saying that plastic material of this electronic waste, they contain lot of polymers and their composition is mentioned here. Because like your TV screen has the plastic, right? Which is made of polystyrene or PP, polyethylene, right? Some kind of what you call acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, ABS, hard type plastic, epoxy materials, right? All these things are there, right? So this is the plastic component of the electronic waste. So I was talking about the Hahn-Fisch effect. When you talk about they go leach out right into the water, they go into the soil, plant material, and if cadmium is beyond a certain limit, right, you must have done the right, seen the wastewater treatment, right, approaches like cadmium, lead, chromium, beryllium, mercury, chlorofluorocarbons, polybrominated biphenyls, right, chlorinated biphenyls, polyvinyl chloride, all these are toxic, right? And these are coming from battery, right, soldier printed circuit boards, glass panels, galvanized steel plants, switchboard and printed circuit boards, relays, switches, cooling units, fire retardants, right, plastic, wiring, cable, water pipes, etc. Right. So this is where the toxic effects are there, and this is what all these things which I have discussed earlier. So I just said that there is a challenge, right? There is an opportunity. You can use this challenge as an opportunity, right? And you can generate the business. So this is the motivation, right? That we can extract gold, copper, silver from here. Copper can be extracted easily. Gold, silver concentration is low, but can be. And that's why I told you this is now called urban mines. So if you look at their ores, right, the mines, right, which are generally source of these metals. But if you look at their composition of metals there and in this kind of metal, so these concentrations are much higher compared to what you see in their ores. And that's why this concept is called urban mines. So motivation is there. So e-waste contains high level of precious metals, right? And it can be recycled, generates the good amount of wealth, reduces the use of natural resources, right? So in mining, you are digging it, right? Lot of, right, remote areas, the concentration is very low, extraction of metal is very complicated, but if this can be used, you need not to go there, right? The gold concentration, other metal concentration is much high, and rare earth metals are also there, right? If you don't do that toxic substances. So e-waste recycling reduces the landfill spaces and yes. If you recycle it well, then it means you are avoiding the problem of the land. And recycling of electronic waste can cut the greenhouse gas levels. So this is what I was talking, that life cycle assessment is very important. How this electronic waste, right? That is when you talk about generation, right? So it doesn't mean that waste is to be generated. Waste should also always be kept at its minimum. But how there is a waste, how this can be utilized. Because once you look at the concept of circular economy, the things will become better and better. So recycling of electronic waste, which I mentioned here, right, it's a conserve the resources, which is just, I said, no need of mining. Health benefits, of course, supply or support to the community because job opportunities will be there. Economic benefit you see here, right, gold, silver, and this is what the interrelated here. So e-waste can be, right, looked as an opportunity also or source here. You see here, it has the gold, right, which is you see here 25 to 250 times higher gold concentration, right, compared to its core. Similarly, copper is 20 to 40 times higher, right? So it is $1 billion business also. And you see the numbers here, palladium, $4 billion USD, right? Silver, 1 billion. There are several other metals, like I said, rare earth metal, so 0.2 billion, and gold, right, 21 billion US dollar, right? Copper has a business of 10 billion. This is the global scenario I'm talking, right? Plastic, 16 billion USD. So what I'm saying that if you look at the data of 2016, it says that there are plenty of opportunities to extract the value-added metals from the gold, like gold, silver, copper, and get the revenue from this kind of, right, waste material, right? So recycling of electronic waste is important, right, from the aspect of metal recovery to deal with the metal scarcity and to minimize the environmental hazardous waste. So one has to look at these opportunities which have been shown here also in the form of picture: the glass, ceramic, plastic, iron and steel, right, non-ferrous metals, printed circuit board, right, what you see here, right? So all these opportunities are there in terms of metal recovery. So it means when you talk about the formal sector, right, you need to understand that how electronic waste can be effectively utilized for this purpose, and one can use it as a source of the wealth also. So this is what I was talking here, that, right, you see that same thing which I have done earlier, the formal versus informal cycles. So there should be a kind of linkage here, right? This should not be encouraged, right? So producer, consumer, there should be a database here. Where does the material go? So that is what I said, LCA is to be done, life cycle assessment, right? So at every point, right, how much, right, waste is generated, where does it go, when you transform it to the another, how much energy is consumed, how much carbon is being polluted. So all these things, right? So integration is must. This is what's shown here, the material flow and economic flow, right? So this is where the material flow and economic flow. So this is material flow and this is the economic flow. So development of green, sustainable and circular economy. Promote employment and income opportunity in informal sector. Increase the electronic waste collection targets and enable strict monitoring and tracking of the appropriate recycling. And now, see, a lot of this, what you say, producer responsibility organization, PRO, right? Already these things are being implemented now. PSA office is doing a lot of job, all right, to minimize this electronic waste and transform this kind of waste into some value added, right? So that is a future approach, right? Where we are saying that from now onward, there should not be any waste generated, and whatever the waste which is, so it means whatever the waste which is coming, that should be treated effectively. So this is what I said again. I'm not going in detail again, right, due to the paucity of time. So printed circuit board, right? Most of these are computer-based materials, right? All of you know about this thing, right? So this is what you see, a printed circuit board, which is a more than 40% is the valuable metal, and remaining 30% is the polymer and 30% is the ceramic. This is the typical composition of a printed circuit board, right? So copper is there, you see here, right? Ore has only 0.5%, metal this has 20%. Iron is there, see 8%. Aluminium is there, and these are more important. What I'm talking, gold, silver, right? Very costly. Right? And rare earth metal I have not shown, so it has lot of rare earth metals also, right? Beryllium, right? Which are selenium, tellurium, all these types. And plastic component also you see, ethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, all these are there. And then ceramic materials, which cannot be degraded, but this can be used for some other purpose. So the concept of linear economy, which was earlier like this, you have used it and thrown away here, this is banned. And concept of circular economy, this is the now that is encouraged. So circular economy concept says that from manufacturer, right, to the recycler, all the time it should be in the closed loop, right? So nothing should come out of this loop. And this is the concept of circular economy. So whether it is plastic waste, electronic waste, right? And this technology, so whatever the technology or whatever the biomass also, all these waste should be, right, treated with the concept of circular economy. Earlier days it was like this, manufacturer, right, user, and then either burned it like this, then giving you a lot of carbon dioxide here into the environment, pollution here into the environment, right? And then this goes to the land. So this is totally bad, right? So circular economy approach is the best way to manage the e-waste. And there are a couple of technologies now. People are working on this, right? Our group is working on this, right? So you can have physical methods. So people do like this also, right? Magnetic separation, flotation, wet jigging, pneumatic separation, some eddy current, right? Or you just pyrolyze it, heat it at high temperature, or you use a supercritical fluid. So supercritical technology or deep eutectic solvents, right? All these methods are being adopted to remove this supercritical means to remove the plastic component. Generally methanol is used, right? Or you can use DMSO, you can use some other solvents also. Pyrolysis is bond breaking. You crack this and plastic will come out, right? Physical, use the pliers and remove. So this is for the plastic component treatment. Second is the metal extraction. When you have removed the plastic, now you can do hydrometallurgy. A lot of things are being done like cyanide leaching, thiosulfate leaching, thiourea leaching, halide leaching, acid leaching. Pyrometallurgy, which is more common, like Umicore, right? They have the process. They do a lot of work with this, right? There are a couple of smelters, right? So which heat it at high temperature and melt it and then recover the metal. And then this is a clean one, relatively clean, but very slow process, biohydrometallurgy. So there are certain bacteria, enzymes, right, which can eat the plastic materials, right, and generate methane. Or there are certain bacteria which can process these metal type and they can extract the metals at the right later. It can be recovered. So a typical flow sheet for the metal recovery, right? Because I told you aqua reagent, all these assets are generally used, right? So you have electronic waste, right? So you smelter, use it at high temperature, right? Then you refine it, so copper can be separated. This is the easier, right, method for recovering copper. But precious metal recovery, this precious metal recovery, there are several other things you have to do. Electrochemistry is one of the method, electrowinning or electrochemistry. By this method, you can recover gold, silver, right? Silver, gold, platinum, and palladium. Right? So this is again a closed loop cycle. You see here, e-waste, smelter, right? Off gases are taken here. You can generate the heat after collecting the dust and absorb it in the sun. Right? This side, you see here, bottom one, right? There is a furnace where you heat it. So lead concentrates, right? All this can come outside. And refine it, you can have lead also. So these are a couple of methods which are, right, adopted or used generally for the electronic waste treatment. So when you see about metal recovery, that is a big challenge. Because metal recovery, I am talking copper, gold, silver, and rare earth metal, very precious metal. So this is an approach, one of the approaches, right? Pyrometallurgy, which I am saying. So pyro means high temperature. So high temperature, how much high? You can have 500 degrees centigrade, right? Heat it around this. Because higher the temperature, your consumption of energy will be more. Then you have to check the economy of the process. So pyrometallurgy is nothing but thermal treatment method. And if you use the high temperature, it will become energy intensive, right? There will not be any profit because how much energy is being consumed to develop a process is very important. So in this pyrometallurgy, you have calcination, roasting, sintering, right? So it depends on the temperature and condition. Second, the hydrometallurgy, where in the presence of, right, I said sulfuric acid, right? So relatively the energy consumption is good. So here you can use cyanide, acid, thiosulfate, thiourea, right? And biohydrometallurgy. So this is relatively preferred one. Now people are looking other techniques like what I told you, novel techniques, not used widely for metal recovery from the e-waste, and there is a need, like ionic liquids. Ionic liquids are similar property like acid, strong acid. Deep eutectic solvent is also here, right? Where you have a hydrogen bond donor, hydrogen bond acceptor, right? And this behaves like a strong acid. Sometimes you can use hybrid also. Chelation method is making a complex like ethyl diamine tetraacetic acid. This is a good chelating agent, EDTA, and it makes the complex with the metal part, and you can recover the metal. So methods are there, right? And this is not restricted to one area, right? Any area, because now science and engineering, these disciplines are interdisciplinary. There's nothing like a particular branch of engineering. Because application will require the interdisciplinary approach. And that's why it has become multidisciplinary approach, right? Where all branches of engineering has to come together, right? They have to work together, right? And then identify the entire process, develop an entire process. So we need, because when I'm talking green, we need to make the process eco-friendly, right? So eco-friendly, so I told you pyrometallurgy, like Umicore is working, right, in Belgium, right, and Netherlands. I think they are doing a lot of work. Noranda, Ronsker, Kusaka, but all these are the multinationals, right? Then hydrometallurgy, acid leaching, alkaline leaching, thiosulfate leaching, cyanide leaching, thiourea. Most of these are at, right, not very commercial because of several reasons, right? So issues are there. Pyrometallurgy is one where, right, emissions of dioxins and furan, these are very toxic acids, energy intensive and higher economy. So hydrometallurgy is relatively better because right, but again, when you see that it has also some drawbacks. Toxic thiourea, acid and halides are corrosive, handling of construction. So there are issues, but relatively better than the pyrometallurgy, but issues are there. So that's why the economy method is important, right? And safe methods are important. This is our approach, right? What we are doing now, I will give you briefly the idea. What we are doing, we are also doing first removing the plastic component. right? Because this is a kind of electronic waste. So I'm just talking about an example of printed circuit board, right? So we take these printed circuit boards near narrow place and you shred it. By shredding, you can convert it into small pieces. Like small pieces means you can have the size of 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter size. Then you put it in a pyrolyzer. So this is the pyrolyzer which we developed here in our IIT, right? It can be used for plastic waste, it can be used for electronic waste. The gas you condense, right? So so liquid will come here and the gas will go there. Now from the solid part, this is the metal and char, I told you, carbon. So you take this physical separation just by grinding and sonication, you can remove this carbon and glass fibers here, right? And this is the metal part now, the actual pictures which is shown here. Concentrated metals. And you see that this carbon metal part also, we converted into aerogel, just like because there's a carbon and glass fibers. So what we did some kind of adsorbent based process generally. So that type of adsorbent synthesis we need. This is kept over a flower. You see very light density material and density of 0.03 gram per centimeter cube. Very light material and thermally stable. Up to 750 degrees centigrade, this doesn't degrade. So we use it for dye removal, for oil spillage, right? For capacitor also we are looking at application. And this part, metal part, you can concentrate the metal or directly industries are ready to take. Right? So this is one patented technology. The second part is the individual metal extraction we are working. So we developed some metal leaching process here. The leached metal you see, it comes out into the solution, right? And you precipitate. So this is a copper now, copper hydroxide, metal hydroxide in the form of copper. So there are different methods. So I'm just talking that one can use this as an opportunity and then recover the metal, right? And this is where you see that this solution can be taken here. You do some kind of electrodeposition depending upon the electromotive forces or potentials, right? And then you can have the metal deposited on these plates, right? So you can recover gold, silver, and copper, right? So that is where the individual metal recovery part. What I'm saying that the opportunities are there. This is a kind of machine. So we developed this 50 kg per day of this kind of pyrolyzer, right? Which can just, you see the working of this. If I just try, let me see video works or not. I think the video is not working here. Anyway, the video is not working, but if you see the functioning, let me check if this works like this. So the video is not working. I'm sorry for this. I think there is in Zoom it must be some issue. So I'll just talk on this later anyway. So this is what you should do there. So this video is not working, but this is a kind of machine, and this is the hopper, right? In this machine, if you see, this is the hopper here, this side, right? And just let me use the pen here. So this is the hopper. Right, the feed comes here and from here it goes up like this, and this is our machine. So second part is here, right? This is a screw feeder, right? And on this screw feeder you have the pyrolysis of this waste, right? And this plastic materials gets decomposed and metal gets collected here at the bottom here somewhere, right? And then this component goes into the third reactor. This is a PP reactor. You can mix the plastic also here. So your plastic will convert into the liquid fuel here, right? So you have the liquid fuel here at the bottom, which you collected here. And then this rest things gases are sent to the adsorbers. And from there, you can collect the different gases here in this section, right? And finally, it is being flared out. So this is a kind of 50 kg unit pyrolyzer, which is you're seen here in this, right? And out of this, what you see, electronic waste. So 10 kg per hour. So we run it for 5 hours per day. Right, and we put it like this, and this is the screw feeder here, which I said, and then this is the solid material which is collected here. The gas is taken into PP reactor, and then it is through a condenser. So we flare it here. So around 20 out of 100 kg, 20 kg is the plastic. So 20% is the gas, right? Which has a heating value of 28. The liquid is around out of 100, 5 kg is the liquid, right? So 32 megajoule per kg. And out of that, you have 100 kg if you take, 75 kg is the solid product, right? And this 75 kg solid product mainly has the 50% is the carbon material and 50% is the metal. This is the total mass balance and which we have done. And copper, nickel, silver, gold, lead, zinc, all these can be recovered from this, right? So far we have worked with these kind of metals, and this is what the future in terms of the rest of the metal like rare earth metals, right? So what I'm saying that depending upon the requirement, depending upon the type of plastic, the treatment methods will be changing. This is about printed circuit board. You see the picture here that this is the after pyrolysis, this is the black material, and you just grind it by sonication. You have a metal mixture here. This is a cyaning mixture, right? And this side it is the carbonaceous. So we do a lot of experiments, right? You see here metal recovery. So copper, lead, iron, aluminum, nickel, silver, platinum, palladium, gold, all these can be extracted. So this is 100% in the mixture. Almost complete recovery in the mixture, right? And 88% copper, 97% lead, 81% iron. So these are under certain conditions of experiment can be recovered. So the details are in this paper. You can just look at that. So this is the second part when I am talking the metal extraction. You see, we recover the copper in this form, copper hydroxide solution here. Right? So this is the simple roasting method, right? By which the metals can be recovered in the form of metal chloride or metal hydroxides, and then you can use it. So, and this process is also a green process. So what we are doing, we are integrating the entire process, right? So this is what I said here, a Kimpel, right? A kind of printed circuit board. So we procure it from the local market, right? Then we shred it, then we crush it, right, to certain size, and then this is used in this for the recovery of the different methods. Like again, I told you, ammonium chloride roasting, right? Ammonia and hydrogen peroxide can be used, and then you can have the copper complex, nickel complex, and these can be recovered. And metal leach solutions can be taken into the copper recovery, like this is just like electrowinning, right? You can put the electrodes and then you can get the copper recovery here, like metallic form. You can recover the copper in the metal form. You can recover copper in its hydroxide form. So physical separation, I already told that when you have the metal and non-metal fraction, just by grinding. So sorting and dismantling, right? You can separate. This is also another way, right? Then mechanical processing like shredding, then you use the vibrating screen, right? And by gravity separation and density separation, you can remove the plastic. Magnetic separation will give the ferrous material. Eddy current if you use then porous metal, and you can finally take it to the second section. So there are methods by which so I told you about the roasting, I told you about the pyrometallurgy, right? Hydropyrometallurgy. So different methods can be used for separation. Right? And then what, right, different approaches have been used, that e-waste, solder mass dissolving, uses sodium hydroxide, solder dissolving, again hydrochloric acid. But these are a couple of methods which have been tested earlier and not green methods, right? But what we have done is a green method. What I'm saying here that in total, when you talk about the recovery of the metals, right, from e-waste, battery waste, so this tree is very important. So one of the methods which I told you, but there can be the plenty of the methods. You need to understand it. You need to understand the chemistry, right? Because see, hydrometallurgy, bio-leaching is now very common, although it is a slow process, but the metals can be extracted. People are using the carbon dioxide because carbon dioxide is available in the environment. The method which are producing carbon dioxide, and you can pass this carbon dioxide through these metals, right? It will make metal carbonate, and metal carbonate can be precipitated, right? So I mean to say, you have to find out the method, whether it is hydrometallurgy, pyrometallurgy, right? But the standards norms, right, to what you say, right, like efficiency, environment, and economy. So people call it 3 E's nowadays, right? So this concept of 3 E's where you talk about the efficiency of the process, environment benign, environment friendly, and economy. So raw materials, new battery, retired battery, spent batteries, whatever, right? You have to make a safe disposal here, dismantle here, separate here, right? And then components like cathodes, electrolyte, carbon dioxide extraction, different methods can be used. I'll just discuss one, right? In the pyromet. Similarly, in the hydrometallurgy also you see the pre-treatment, leaching, separation, purification. This is in a closed cycle. If this can be done in a closed cycle, process is green. Nothing should go to the wastewater. It should not be discharged. Nothing should go as a solid waste, and nothing should go in the gaseous waste. Right? So that is where if you are making this science in the closed loop, these are the methods, right, which can be adopted for electronic waste as well as the battery waste. So what I'm saying that if you can do this, this is the kind of the socio-economic, right, model which we are looking forward now with the help of different funding agencies, right, that this can be used as a zero waste concept. So everybody is talking about ZWD, zero water discharge, right, and this is what the zero waste concept. You see here that you have to train the society. The first thing is that how to train the society, how to collect and segregate. So this is what we call bottom-up approach. So we are preparing a questionnaire, we are preparing a database, right, which can take care of all this. Now this should be done at every, what I'm saying, district, right, or at every village and block area, and then this can be applicable. Right? So segregation and collection of plastic waste, electronic waste is a big challenge at the point of origin, right? And then this should be the task, right? This should be a model, what I'm calling a revenue generation model, right? So bottom-up approach via profit share, right? So collection and segregation of electronic waste is very important. And then once this is done, because mainly this is the challenge, and economy will depend on that, how the waste has been collected and segregated. So thermochemical conversion and its oil upgradation, that is one way, right? So oil, gas, carbon nanotube, plastic, this is just, I'm talking plastic waste, right? So waste can be converted to value added. Electrical production, what you see, refinery feedstock, transportation fuels, char utilization, right? Potential applications of the octane. So you can have liquid fuel, if you have plastic, you can have carbon, which you call char, and you can have gases also during the crack. But should be done in a closed loop. Right? So that is where the opportunities are there, right? So this is what you talk about the plastic waste management. So whatever the municipal solid waste, so municipal solid waste has roughly 60% of the degradable component. 40% is the aggregate, non-degradable, right? So this is just like the what you call the garbage, right? Which is obtained from the construction and building. So we call it C, right? And construction waste, right? So C and D waste, right? This is a kind of construction and demolition waste, right? So this cannot be used for this purpose. 40% is the biomass, plastic, right? All these biodegradable. So this is what you see MSW. And pre-processing to remove the recyclable. If this is a plastic feed, do the thermal cracking, then catalytic cracking, then condense it, and then you can have the product, right, which can be used as a source of fuel or chemicals, right? So you have a gas, you have a liquid, and this can be used as a source of energy. So this is the kind of unit, right, which we have just at the lab scale first. Then we designed a 1 kg plastic parallel. So just you see the unit is very simple. You have a heater here, right? You put the feed here, right? Your biomass here in this machine, right? And you have the oxygen should not be there, remember, right? Otherwise it will cause fire, it will create explosion also. So safety norms are to be followed, right? So this is where the right raw material zone, and if you have this, then this goes the vapors here. So we have a catalyst here and pass through the condenser, right? And you collect the liquid. So this is just a lab scale, right? And this can be extended to the pilot plant. So what we have done, so all these kind of plastic, which is mainly the LDP, PP, all these can be degradable plastic. And if you do the thermochemical cracking, you can have the liquid fuel from here. This you see the transparent liquid fuel. This is lab laboratory produced liquid, right? And thus also you can have the carbon. This is the carbon which is in the form of carbon nanotube. So people are looking for plastic to hydrogen and carbon. So we are working on now that also plastic to hydrogen and carbon nanotube with the association of the Office of NITI Aayog, Principal Scientific Advisor Office, and Department of Science and Technology. So you need to understand the catalysis. So I'm not going in depth of this because the cracking requires some catalysis, right? And then you can have the hydrogen, you can have this and liquid. So these are a couple of results. You see the commercial diesel is like this, and this is the diesel which has come from the plastic in the lab. Right? You can convert this, right? You see the data, commercial diesel, right? Which has carbon 81%, hydrogen 14%, and this is the calorific value. So calorific value, all of you know that heating value, right? If you burn 1 kg of this fuel or combust it, then you will get 45 megajoule of energy, right? And if this is our product, right, which is around 45, right, similar to that diesel fuel. So this is where the opportunities can be used. These are some typical, right, R&D results. I'm not going into detail of this product distribution. We have done a lot of experiments, right, in this. I'm not going in detail of this, but you can convert the plastic to carbon nanotube also. Just heat the plastic, it will convert to carbon, right? And these carbon byproducts, this is the carbon nanotubes or carbon fibers here. These have, you know, the carbon nanotube, if it is of good quality, the cost can be as high as 7,000 rupees per kg. So what I mean to say, the carbon nanotube cost is as high as the $1,000 per kg also, depending upon some medical applications, right? When you talk about those kind of high purity carbon nanotube, picture tubes, right? Which you know, your CRT tube, cosmonaut dresses, because they are highly thermal conductive, highly heat resistant material, right? So all those properties are there. So it can be used for the cosmonaut dresses. Carbon nanotube density, right? It is very low density material. So like in the bulletproof jackets, right, which are made of metals like steel, right? These carbon nanotubes are blended up to 6 to 10 weight%. And this reduces the weight of this bulletproof jacket, right, which is 13 kg generally, reduces to a level of 6 to 8 kg jacket, bulletproof jacket. So those are the opportunities which can be made from these plastic materials. Okay. Although it looks very simple to say, but there are a lot of things which, right, need to be done. A lot of challenges are there, but opportunities, I told you that if you give a thought, if you apply your science and engineering brain, that things can be done. So these are a couple of our results, right? We are converting plastic to hydrogen also, because that is another area of research. So what I'm saying, the plastic waste can be converted into hydrogen also. Right? So these are the couple of results of this hydrogen, right? With different catalysts. Cost-wise also, we did the economy analysis, but I told you that collection and segregation is a big challenge. And this cost is very important. Collection and segregation, because this cost may vary from 8 to 15 rupees per kg. Right? The rack pickers, intermediates, right? How? Because this requires that collection, segregation, and washing of it. Because plastic, when you collect it from the trash bins or right landfill, it contains a lot of dust also. Right? So it has to be cleaned. Cleaning means you are using a lot of water, right? Then you need to dry it also. If you are using other dryer, right, heating from other source, then it will become very costly. But if you use solar dryer, water you use in a recycled way, then it's economical. Right? So what I'm saying, this is very important as far as the collection and segregation of plastic is concerned. Then otherwise, see, we are saying 1 kg of this plastic, right? When you talk about the plastic, right, cost of the liquid product. So we got 100 kg of plastic. If you take out of this, you can get approximately 70 kg of oil. Right? So how do you do it? How do you process it? Depending upon that, if you do this economy analysis, right, then this costs roughly 40 to 50 rupees per liter. And diesel, you know, the market cost of diesel presently is more than 80 rupees per kg. So this can be mixed. This can be used for rural application like running the gen set, pump sets, right? All these kind of applications. So it means there is a potential if you are converting this plastic, but all kind of plastic cannot be converted to liquid. I told you mostly these are PP, right? PE. So these kind of plastic can easily be converted. But if you have PET like bottles, then it is better you crush it, shred it, and make the mats from that, door mats, and composite materials of plastic. A lot of work is being done on that because that has much more revenue compared to, right, heating and all these things. Right? So polyethylene terephthalate has much more value for the product manufacturing. You make the goods article. You make some, you mix the carbon, biomass char and plastic, right? This shredded plastic char and blend them, right? And make some composite materials. It is very good for soundproof also, right? The plastic carbon, if you make a composite of that, it is being used as an acoustic material, right? So those things are very good. You have to test how much, right, noise is coming out of that. So those kind of seats can be made from this. Your, right, automobile seats, wherever you use the rubbers and all these things can be made from this. So those are opportunities for future. So I have already shown you. So this is once from the lab scale, which is made of glass. Now we made a 1 kg plastic utilization. So this is the sponsored project by DRDO LSRB. So Life Science Research Board. And you see here, this is a kind of controller here. This is the mat. We put the plastic, this is a batch unit, right? And then vapors go here. So this is the catalyst bed here. And from there, it goes to the condenser, right? And we collect the liquid here, right? And gases are just taken here into this, right? And so this is how the system is developed from lab to a kind of the bench scale of 1 kg per ton. And now we are working on the kind of pilot scale, right? Where we are looking for conversion of plastic to hydrogen and carbon, right? So this is another opportunity, right? So 1 ton of the plastic, as I said, can give you around this 700 kg of fuel. But here you see that this is a, I'm not going in detail, but this is a kind of screw feeder on this side here, this one, right? So this screw feeder, right? Then you have a cracking unit, condensers. You can collect the plastic, the gases will go here, right? And then so on, so on. So you can design this. So this is a kind of pilot scale unit, right? Which is now under this, what I said, that the solid waste management, which is here we call the DRIVE project, right? Within Delhi region and NCR, we have made a cluster, right? Delhi knowledge cluster we call. So Delhi and NCR, all teams we have added, right? So that is a research, right? When you say this DRIIV, so research and innovation, right? And implementation. So innovative research, a concept where we are using the solid waste, right, and converting into different products, right? So managing the solid waste. So it is related, that is routed to science, engineering, and the amalgamation of all branches of engineering. So just a chemical engineering is not sufficient, mechanical engineering required, electronic engineering required, right? So all branches of engineering should join hands, and then this kind of technology can be developed. So what I'm saying that now you see a lot of COVID waste is coming, a lot of plastic is coming from there, right? Agricultural residue in Delhi, in NCR, Punjab, Haryana, right? Lot of agricultural residue is there, which is just burned on the land, right? And you see that this entire closed cycle, when I'm talking technology integration, there is a need to work on this, right? So this is where the important point I am putting again and again, that the society awareness or societal awareness is must, right? Different kind of trash bins are required like this, right? Dry waste, wet waste, although in most of the part of India now this is being implemented. You must have seen, right, the blue color, it is written there, dry waste, then green, right, kitchen waste and all these things, and then other will come for electronic waste. So those things are possible, right? So this is needed. Battery waste to be collected separately, right? Because that is a different, you have to diffuse the battery waste very carefully. Otherwise it may explode, right? There may be some residual charge if battery is not discharged properly. And this is the root cause of explosion most of the time in the landfill area. So collection, then you have to transport it, then shredding, so shredder is required. And finally, this is the machine I am talking. We developed it 50 kg per day, a pilot plant. Then you have combustible gases, right? You take the gases and use it for heating purpose. Liquid fuels, right? It had the when you have electronic waste, the liquid fuel cannot be used directly as a fuel because it has a lot of phenol compound. It has other applications, right? Because phenols are very useful compound if they can recover very easily or economically, right? Metal char mixture is here. This I discussed. So now after grinding, you can have the metal residue, mixture, right, which can be used for metal extraction. And the residue is taken here, right, which is a char, and this char can be used for making the as an adsorbent, right? So you see that after chemical treatment, we made these kind of pellets. These are aerogel structures. We call it aerogel because they take 90% porous. This is the porosity, and this is kept on a flower here. This is a what you call dahlia का फूल जो होता है, right? उसके ऊपर ये रखा हुआ. And so, but why I'm showing this? Because 90% porosity acid and very light density material, 0.03 gram per centimeter cube is the density, and water has the density of 1 gram per centimeter cube. All of you know that. So this highly porous material we tested for oil spillage. It can absorb the oil, right? So when you heat it, because it is stable thermally till 700 degrees centigrade. So oil can be removed, right? And it regains its property. If you compress it, it is highly compressible. If you press it, it will compress, get compressed, and if you release the pressure, it will come again. So those things are called aerogel. By freeze drying, it can be made and synthesized. And this is what, and now we are also looking at its application for CO2 capture. So you can capture the carbon dioxide. You can use it for wastewater treatment, right? So all these kind of things, and now we are looking the gloves, right? The masks you use most of the time, right? The masks, the gloves, all those also, which is the originated from the waste which has come from the COVID, right? Pandemic. Forest residue, big problem in Delhi NCR. All these can be done in this kind of machine, right? But need to develop it further, right? And this will give you a kind of gas and a kind of liquid product. Even this biogas, kitchen, right, agricultural residue in IIT Delhi, we have a biogas plant also, right, around 20 normal meter cube per day, right, and this biogas generates a lot of sludge. So this sludge can also be used. So entire concept, but you see the technology integration, this cannot be done by just one branch of it. Lot of things are to be done in future, right, because this is just a lab scale, lab to a protocol type, right? So what you see the technology readiness levels, right? Then finally, when you talk about the societal application, this should come in the form of 1 ton per day, right? We are connecting ourselves with the industry, 1 ton per day to 5 ton per day of plastic and e-waste, right, management plan. So a lot of right now, the government, right, like local, the state government, they are approaching, right, to work jointly. A lot of industries are coming. And then this should be a kind of the concept when you talk about Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, right? So this is where you talk about a green India, you talk about Swachh Bharat, smart cities, pollution control, right? It should be zero, plastic-free oceans, no stubble burning, because you have to provide the opportunity. And this is what called the Unnat Bharat, right? So that's what the societal impact of this kind of. So you utilize the waste, you convert into wealth in an effective manner, and that wealth should be used for the multi-purpose. Right? So this is the outcome. What we have done so far, right, in our lab, that is the characterization of electronic waste. Then we parallelized the electronic waste in a lab scale. Then we separated the metals. Then we did individual metal recovery. We used the char, you see the here, right? And then from here, we designed this 50 kg per day pyrolyzer, right? Which can be used for electronic waste, for the plastic waste, right? And then now we are looking the pilot scale, that is a kind of 1 TPD plant. So just to summarize, right, in total, right, what I'm saying that first thing is that use the concept of 4 hours or 8 hours nowadays, right? So nothing should go into the environment, right? The earth should be saved, right? That's a concept, right? When you talk about save earth, right? And sustainable development. So whatever the right technologies are being developed, it should be sustainable, right? That is right, with zero waste, no threatening to the water, no threatening to the soil, and no threatening to the that is environment or air, right? So effective management and development of the recycling sector is significantly a challenge to address all these kind of, because most of the things are presently non-regulated informal cycle, and this should be regulated. So, right, when you talk about this recycling industry, they recover metals from waste, end-of-life e-waste and battery recycling is one of the most polluting industrial process. So this needs to be addressed effectively. Plastic waste can be economically recycled, but this should be banned. So I just again say single-use plastic should be banned. What you see the gutka, right? Lot of in the Kanpur area also, you must have your pan masala or ये सब आता है. Then uncle chips और ये सब इसके अंदर aluminum foil, aluminum की coating होती है, right? Just to avoid the oxidation. Now those materials cannot be disposed of easily because it has the metal also. You cannot incinerate it. So now these single-use plastic, mainly people what they do, they use it for road paving. You can mix a bitumen and this plastic after shredding and make a composite and use it for road paving. So those things are to be done. So what percentage should be used as a fuel? What type of plastic should be used as a fuel? And what type of plastic should be used for road paving, right? Or some other application, like as I said, char, carbon and hydrogen. It's not like that all the type of waste can be treated by one way. We need to find out different ways for the treatment of waste by proper characterization. So that's why I have written here. It is very important, right, to find a solution for waste management, which is environment friendly to me for different kind of waste. Battery waste is different, right? You have to treat it in a different way. And if you see the opportunity, the revenue can be generated, right, from recycling of electronic waste and plastic waste and rechargeable batteries. So these are a couple of publications and patents from our group, right? So we do a lot of work on e-waste management, biomass, right? So this is related to e-waste. So these are 3 patents, right? And a large number of publications. A book is also published on this. So you can just go through the website for the details of our group publication. So this is my big group, right? In total, I have 30 students in the group. So these are the small number who is working on different areas. As I said, it's a multidisciplinary approach, and this can be used, right, for the future for the treatment of the waste. So with these, I just conclude here. But the important thing is that recycle today for a better tomorrow. So this is very important. All of us have to follow that. Everybody, right? It's a responsibility of every citizen of India, right? That nothing should go into the dustbin, right? As minimum as possible, right? That is, the biodegradable material is okay, but non-biodegradable material should not go into the. So say no to plastic. That is very important, right? Use the minimum use of plastic will definitely save the environment. Thank you very much, and thank you for providing me the opportunity. If you have any question, please feel free to discuss.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. You have rightly said that the urban, that the e-waste are the urban mines of the future, as e-waste can serve as mines as a replacement for raw sources that are currently being explored for recovery of the metals, and e-waste can serve as an alternative for those.
Thank you very much.
With this, I would request the participants, if you have any questions or queries for the current session, one can open their mics and can ask questions to Professor Pant. Yeah, participants, any questions from your side?
Hello.
Yeah,
yes.
You're audible.
Yes, sir. So this is Divya Bharati from Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, sir. Sir,
Okay.
I have a question on using this pyro-derived oil in engines, sir. So what are the challenges usually we face to use this pyrolysis derived liquid bio oil to use it in engines?
Yeah, that's important, I think very important and very good question. See, when you talk about a fuel which is coming from plastic or other kind of materials, and if you call it like diesel or gasoline, you have to match all the specifications. Like what you see in when I say gasoline, it has certain specifications like as per the BIS norms, right? Heating value is one thing, but the important thing is that, see, one thing is that when you use the plastic waste bio oil, these are free from sulfur. But at the same time, if you look at the other property like lubricant properties, you have to match the properties with that. Although in this case, when we use the PP and PE, the properties are very well matched because the catalyst, zeolite catalyst, it has a lot of those kind of abilities, right? So we just compared it with the petrol and diesel. So the properties must have to be matched with respect to the petrol and diesel. That is one thing. Second thing is that chemical composition, because suppose you use PVC, polyvinyl chloride, then chlorinated compounds may be in the petrol and diesel, and these should be avoided. Phenolic compounds, if you are using like some kind of like e-waste plastic, it will have a lot of phenolic compounds. These phenolic compounds are carcinogenic, so this should be avoided. So there are a lot of challenges when you use the plastic to liquid. That's why we call it plastic to chemical, right? But this is a good like LDO. If you use the light diesel oil, right? That is, so for running the pump set, gen set, this is very good. Because see, you have to calculate how much oil you can produce. And that oil, if you produce, right, say I said 1 ton of the plastic. So 1 ton of plastic can give you around 700 kg of the oil, right? And this oil, if 700 kg of the oil, if you are able to run it for the rural, use it in the rural areas for running the pumps and generators, it is of good usage. Or you can blend it with the petrol or diesel type of product. So that those type of things are to be done. But when you use it for the fuel application, you have to match all the ASTM standards, which is American Society of Testing Material and BIS standard for the petrol and diesel, then it can be used. So you need to certify.
Any more questions from the participants here? No, I guess. So,
yeah, my mail ID is there. In case you need any further right questions, query, please feel free to interact with me.
sure, sir. So the family of AITH is very much thankful to you for sparing some of the time from your busy schedule.
Thank you very much.
Dear participants, for today's session, we are done with all the 3 lectures. Tomorrow, we will start at the same time by 9:30 a.m. I will share the links for tomorrow on your email ID as well as on the WhatsApp group that I have made. Thanking you all for your patience listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please feel free to interact with me at any time. Thank you.